3 days passed. 3 long, painful days. Yuna did not wake up. She lay in the medical bed with her eyes closed. Machines kept her alive. They breathed for her. They pumped blood through her body. They fed her through tubes. She was alive, but she was far away, lost in some dark place that the cubs could not reach. Dr. Sung said this was normal. He said her body needed time to heal. He said humans often fell into deep sleep after serious injuries. It was their way of recovering. But the cubs did not care about what was normal. They only cared about Yuna. They wanted her to open her eyes. They wanted to hear her voice. They wanted to see her smile. The cubs refused to leave the medical bay. Commander Day tried to make them go back to their room. He said they needed rest. He said they needed food. But they would not listen. Every time someone tried to move them, Rax would growl and show his teeth. Ven would give them a cold stare. Tora would start crying. Eventually, Day gave up. He ordered the medical staff to bring beds and food to the medical bay. If the cubs wanted to stay, they could stay. Rax sat by Yuna's bed most of the time. He held her small hand in his big clawed one. Her fingers were so thin, so fragile. He could crush them without even trying. But he held them gently, like they were made of glass. "I remember the first time you held my hand," Rax said quietly. "It was a few weeks after you came to take care of us. I was angry about something. I do not even remember what. I wanted to hit the wall. I wanted to break things. But you grabbed my hand and held it tight. You did not let go until I calmed down." He paused. His eyes were burning with tears he refused to let fall. "I thought you were crazy. I could have hurt you so easily. One wrong move and my claws would have cut your skin. But you trusted me. You believed I would not hurt you. And because you believed, I did not." Ven was sitting on the other side of the bed. He was reading from a datapad. It was a human book that Yuna had given him. It was called The Little Prince. He did not understand all of it, but Yuna had said it was her favorite story when she was young. "Listen to this part," Ven said, reading out loud. "It is the time you have spent on your rose that makes your rose so important. People have forgotten this truth, but you must not forget it. You become responsible forever for what you have tamed." He looked at Yuna's still face. "You tamed us, Yuna. We were wild and angry and lost. But you spent time on us. You made us important. And now you are responsible for us forever. So you cannot leave. You have to wake up. You have to take responsibility." For me? Tora was curled up at the foot of the bed. She had made a nest out of blankets and was lying in it like a small animal. Her eyes were fixed on Yuna's face, watching for any movement. "Do you remember the song you used to sing?" Tora asked. "The one about the star. You said your mother used to sing it to you when you were little. You sang it to me when I had nightmares." She started humming. It was a simple tune, soft and gentle. She did not know all the words, but she remembered the melody. Yuna had sung it so many times that it was burned into her memory. The 4th day came, then the 5th, then the 6th. Yuna's body was healing. The wounds were closing. The machines showed that her organs were working better. But she still did not wake up. Dr. Sung started to worry. He ran more tests. He checked her brain activity. Everything looked normal, but she remained asleep. "I do not understand," Sung admitted to Commander Day. "Her body has recovered enough. She should be awake by now. It is like she does not want to come back." They looked through the window at the 3 cubs sitting around Yuna's bed. They looked exhausted. They had barely slept for a week. They refused to eat properly. They were making themselves sick with worry. "Is there anything else we can do?" They asked. "I have done everything medicine can do," Sung replied. Now it is up to her. She has to choose to wake up. That night, the cubs were alone in the medical bay. The lights were dimmed. The only sounds were the beeping of machines and the soft hum of the ship's engines. Rax was sitting in his usual spot. He was tired. So tired that his eyes kept closing on their own. But every time they closed, he forced them open again. He was afraid that if he fell asleep, something bad would happen. "Yuna," he said. His voice was rough and broken. "I do not know if you can hear me. I do not know if any of this matters. But I need to say it anyway." He squeezed her hand. "Before you came, I hated everything. I hated the universe for taking my parents. I hated the other Krell for looking at us with pity. I hated myself for being too weak to save them. I was full of anger and darkness. I thought I would feel that way forever." A tear rolled down his scaled face. "But then you came. And you showed me something different. You showed me that there is still light in the universe. You showed me that I could be loved, that I could love someone back. You gave me hope when I had none." He pressed his forehead against her hand. "Please, Yuna, please come back. I am not ready to lose that hope again. I am not ready to go back to the darkness. I need you. We all need you. Please." At that moment, something happened. Yuna's fingers moved. It was just a tiny movement, a small twitch. But Rax felt it. He looked up at her face. Her eyes were still closed. But there was something different. A small crease on her forehead. A slight change in her breathing. Then, "Tora, wake up!" Rax shouted. The other two cubs jumped up from their sleep. They rushed to the bed. "What is it? What happened?" Ven asked. Her hand moved. "I felt it. She moved." They all stared at Yuna. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, slowly, her eyelids started to flutter. The cubs held their breath. Yuna's eyes opened. They were blurry and unfocused. She blinked several times. The bright lights hurt. Everything was confusing. Where was she? What happened? Then she heard a sound like crying, but not sad crying. Happy crying. She turned her head. It took all her strength just to do that. And she saw them. 3 young Krell cubs with tears streaming down their faces. "Yuna!" Tora screamed. She threw herself onto the bed and wrapped her arms around Yuna's neck. "You are awake. You are awake. Careful." Ven pulled Tora back. "She is still hurt. You cannot jump on her like that." Rax did not say anything. He could not. His throat was too tight. His heart was too full. He just stared at Yuna with his wet yellow eyes. Yuna looked at her 3 cubs. They looked terrible. They were thin and tired. Their fur was messy. Their eyes were red from crying. They had clearly not taken care of themselves while she was asleep. She tried to speak. Her voice came out as a rough whisper. "I am sorry for scaring you." Rax shook his head. "Do not apologize. You saved us. You almost died because of us. We should be the ones apologizing. No." Yuna reached out her hand. It was weak and shaking, but she managed to touch Rax's face. "I would do it again." 100 times, her hand moved to Ven, then to Tora. "You are my cubs, my children. I will always protect you." The cubs gathered around her bed. They pressed close to her, careful not to hurt her. They surrounded her with their warmth and their love. "We were so scared," Tora admitted. "We thought you were going to die. We thought we would lose you like we lost our parents." "I know. I am sorry." "Stop apologizing," Rax said. But his voice was gentle. Just promise you will not do it again. Promise you will not leave us." Yuna smiled. It was a weak smile, but it was real. I promise. I will try. But if it ever comes to choosing between me and you three, I will always choose you. Ven sighed. That is not a very good promise. It is a human promise. We are stubborn like that. The cubs laughed. It was a wet, tearful laugh, but it was real. It was full of relief and joy and love. Commander Day arrived at the medical bay a few minutes later. Dr. Soong had called him with the news. When he walked in and saw Yuna awake with the three cubs surrounding her, he stopped. He had seen many things in his life. He had seen great battles and terrible losses. He had seen warriors die and empires fall. But he had never seen anything like this. Three predator cubs, members of the most fearsome species in the galaxy, crying with happiness over a small human woman. A woman who had almost died to save them. A woman who loved them more than her own life, thought it was not logical. It was not sensible. It was not the Krell way, but it was beautiful. They walked to the bed. He looked down at Yuna. You gave us quite a scare, little human, he said. Yuna smiled up at him. Sorry, Commander. Do not apologize. What you did was remarkable. You protected those cubs with your life. There is no greater honor. He placed his hand over his chest, a Krell sign of deep respect. You may be human. You may be small and soft and fragile, but you have the heart of a true warrior. I am proud to have you on my ship. Yuna's eyes filled with tears. She had spent months on this ship feeling like an outsider, like she did not belong. But now, the commander himself was acknowledging her. Accepting her dot, she was not just a human caretaker anymore. She was one of them. The next few weeks were filled with recovery. Yuna slowly got stronger. The cubs helped her with everything. They brought her food. They helped her walk. They told her stories and jokes. They never left her side dot, and as Yuna healed, she realized something important. Family was not about blood. It was not about species. It was about love. It was about the choice to care for someone, to protect them, to be there for them no matter what. These three Krell cubs were her family now. The observation room was cold. The walls were gray metal. There was a long window that looked down into the surgery room. The glass was thick and soundproof. The cubs could see everything, but they could not hear anything. Rax stood at the window with his hands pressed against the glass. His breath made small clouds of fog on the surface. He did not blink. He could not look away. Then sat on a chair nearby. His legs were shaking so badly that he could not stand. He had his arms wrapped around himself like he was trying to hold his body together. Tora was on the floor. She had her knees pulled up to her chest and her face hidden. She could not watch. It was too scary. Every time she tried to look, she saw Yuna covered in blood, and she wanted to scream. Down in the surgery room, Dr. Soong worked with careful hands. He had 3 assistants helping him. They were all wearing clean white clothes and masks over their faces. The lights above them were bright and harsh. Yuna lay on the metal table. She looked so small, so broken. Her chest barely moved when she breathed. The machines around her beeped and hummed. Numbers flashed on screens. Most of the numbers were red. Red meant danger. Red meant death was close. Sung started by removing the metal pieces from Yuna's body. There were 5 of them. Each one was like a jagged knife stuck in her flesh. He used special tools to pull them out slowly and carefully. Every time a piece came out, more blood followed. "She is losing too much blood," one of the assistants said. "Her blood pressure is dropping. Give her more of the human blood we have stored," Soong ordered. "And prepare the synthetic plasma." The Velix warship carried small amounts of blood from different species. It was for emergencies like this. but they did not have much human blood. Humans were rare in this part of space. They would need to be very careful. Rax watched as the red liquid flowed through tubes into Yuna's arm. He had never thought about blood before. For Crow, blood was just something that came out when you got hurt. It was blue and thick. But human blood was different. It was thin and red. It looked fragile, like everything else about them. How did they survive? Rax wondered. How do creatures so soft and weak manage to exist in a universe full of predators and danger? He remembered something Yuna had told him once. They were sitting in her room, and she was brushing Tora's fur. Rax had asked her why humans were so weak. Yuna had laughed. It was a gentle, warm sound. "We are not weak," she had said. "We are just different. Our bodies might be soft, but our hearts are strong. We do not give up, Rax, no matter how hard things get, no matter how much pain we feel. We keep fighting. We keep hoping. That is the human way." Rax had not understood then, but he was starting to understand now. Down in the surgery room, Soon cut open Yuna's chest. He needed to repair the damage to her organs. Her lungs had been punctured. Her liver was torn. Several ribs were broken. For any other species, these injuries would be fatal within minutes, but Yuna was still alive. Somehow, against all logic, her heart was still beating. "This is remarkable," Soong muttered as he worked. "Her body should have shut down by now. Her organs are failing one by one, but her heart keeps pumping. It refuses to stop. Is that a human thing?" An assistant asked. "I do not know. I have read about human resilience, but I thought it was exaggeration. Now I am not so sure." Ven stood up and walked to the window. He forced himself to look. He needed to see. He needed to understand. He watched Sung's hands move inside Yuna's chest. He watched the blood get sucked away by machines. He watched the monitors flash warnings. It was horrible. It was terrifying. But it was also beautiful in a strange way. This old doctor was fighting to save a life. He was using all his skill and knowledge to pull Yuna back from death. It was a battle. A different kind of battle than Krell usually fought, but a battle nonetheless. "She is dying," Tora whispered from the floor. "I can feel it. She is slipping away." Ven looked down at his sister. Tora had always been sensitive to emotions. She could feel things that others could not. If she said Yuna was dying, it was probably true. "Then we need to call her back," Rax said. His voice was desperate. "We need to let her know we are here, that we are waiting for her." "She cannot hear us," Ven said. "The glass is soundproof. Then we do not use sound." Rax placed both hands on the window. "Yuna once told me that humans believe in something called connection. She said that when people love each other, they are connected by invisible strings. No matter how far apart they are, those strings tie them together." Tora looked up. "I remember. She said that even death cannot break those strings." Rax nodded. "So we use the strings. We think about her. We send her our love. We tell her, without words, that she needs to come back." It sounded crazy. It sounded like human foolishness. But the cubs were desperate. They would try anything. Ven joined Rax at the window. He put his hands on the glass. Tora slowly got up from the floor. She wiped her wet face and stood beside her brothers. She placed her small hands between theirs. The three cubs closed their eyes. They thought about Yuna. They remembered every moment they had shared with her. Every game. Every meal. Every story. Every hug. Every laugh. Every tear. They remembered the first time she touched them with kindness. They remembered the first time they fell asleep in her arms. They remembered the first time they called her by her name instead of the human. They remembered the night when Tora had a nightmare and Yuna stayed up until morning singing soft songs. They remembered when Rax got sick and Yuna did not leave his side for 3 days. They remembered when Ven was sad about their parents and Yuna just held him and let him cry. She had given them everything. Every piece of her heart. Every ounce of her strength. She had loved them when they were angry and mean. She had been patient when they were difficult. She had never asked them to be anything other than what they were. Please come back, Rax thought. I need you. We need you. You are our mother now. You cannot leave us. I will be good, Ven promised silently. I will not be cold and distant anymore. I will tell you that I love you every day. Just please come back. I am sorry, Tora cried in her mind. I am sorry for all the times I was bad. I am sorry for making you worry. Please do not leave me alone. Please, Yuna. Please. Down in the surgery room, something strange happened. The monitors, which had been flashing red for the past hour, suddenly changed. The numbers stopped falling. Yuna's heart rate stabilized. Her blood pressure slowly started to rise. Sung paused. They looked at the screens in confusion. What is happening? An assistant asked. I do not know, Sung replied. But it seems like she is fighting back. Her body is responding. She is getting stronger. In the observation room, the cubs opened their eyes. They did not know what had happened in the surgery room. They could only see Sung continuing to work. But somehow, they felt different. The heavy weight in their chests was a little lighter. The cold fear was a little warmer. Something changed, Tora said. I can feel it. She is still there. She is still holding on. Rax let out a breath he did not know he was holding. His legs felt weak. He leaned against the window for support. Keep fighting, Yuna, he whispered. Just a little longer. Just hold on a little longer. The operation continued for 4 more hours. Dr. Sung repaired her lungs. He fixed her liver. He set her broken ribs back in place. He stitched up the cuts and holes in her body. He did everything a doctor could do. When he finally stepped back from the table, his hands were covered in blood. Human blood. Red and thin and precious. He looked up at the observation window. He could see the 3 cubs watching him with desperate eyes. They had not moved from that spot for the entire operation. Sung raised his hand and gave them a small nod. Yuna was alive. The operation was successful. She was not out of danger yet, but she had survived the surgery. The cubs collapsed. Rax fell to his knees, then sat down hard on the floor. Tora burst into tears. They held each other and cried. They cried with relief. They cried with gratitude. They cried with exhaustion. Their human was still alive. There was still hope. And in the galaxy, sometimes hope is enough. Commander Day was on the bridge when the alarm started. He was looking at star maps and planning their route through the asteroid field. When the ship shook and the red lights flashed, he immediately took control. Report, he shouted. What happened? Hull breach in Section 7, Commander. A young officer replied. His voice was scared. A hidden asteroid hit us. The outer wall is broken. We are losing air pressure in that section. Day's mind worked fast. Section 7. That was the recreation area. That was where the cubs usually played. That was where Yuna spent most of her time. Is anyone trapped in Section 7? Day asked. The officer checked his screen. His face went pale. Yes, Commander. 1 life sign. Very weak. It is. It is the human medic. Day felt his stomach drop. Yuna, the small human who had somehow won the hearts of 3 predator cubs. The woman who smiled at everyone, even the warriors who looked at her with disgust. The person who had brought something soft and warm to this ship full of hunters. Where are the cubs? Day demanded. They are outside the emergency door to Section 7. They are with Warrior Cole. Good. Send the repair team to Section 7 immediately. I want that breach sealed in 10 minutes. We need to get air back in there. And contact Dr. Sung in the medical bay. Tell him to prepare for emergency surgery. Tell him the patient is human. The officer nodded and started making calls. They left the bridge and started walking fast through the ship. His boots made loud sounds on the metal floor. Other Krell moved out of his way. They could see the look on his face. Something was very wrong. They arrived at Section 7 in 3 minutes. He saw the 3 cubs huddled by the emergency door. They looked broken. Their eyes were red. Their fur was messy. They looked like lost children, not fierce young predators. When Rax saw the commander, he ran toward him. Commander Day, please, you have to help her. She is trapped in there. She is dying. Day put his hand on Rax's shoulder. The young cub was shaking badly. They had never seen Rax like this. The boy was always proud and stubborn. Now he looked terrified. The repair team is coming, they said. They will seal the breach. Then we will open the door and get her out. She will be okay. You do not know that, Rax shouted. You do not know if she is still alive. The scanner shows her life signs are weak. What if we are too late? What if she dies before we can reach her? They did not have an answer. He was a warrior. He had faced death many times. He had lost friends and comrades in battle. He knew that sometimes people died. Sometimes you could not save everyone. But looking at these 3 cubs, he knew he could not say that. He could not take away their hope. Humans are strange creatures, they said slowly. They are weak in body, but they are strong in spirit. I have seen humans survive things that would kill a Krell. I have seen them fight when they should have died. Your Yuna is one of the strongest humans I have ever met. She will not give up easily. The repair team arrived. They were 4 Krell engineers with heavy equipment. They immediately started working on the section. One of them drilled through the wall to release emergency foam that would seal the breach. Another used a special machine to pump air back into the section. How long? They asked. 5 minutes for the seal, the lead engineer replied. Another 3 minutes to restore air pressure to safe levels. 8 minutes. Yuna had been trapped for almost 15 minutes already. No human could survive without air for that long. But the scanner still showed a life sign. Weak, but there. She was still holding on. Ven walked up to Commander Day. The middle cub was calmer than his brother, but his eyes held a deep fear. Commander, Ven said, why did she do it? Why did she save us instead of saving herself? Day looked down at the young cub. It was a good question. A logical question. Any Krell would ask the same thing. I do not fully understand humans, Day admitted. They think differently than us. For Krell, survival is the most important thing. We protect ourselves first. That is how we became strong. But humans, they protect others first. Especially the ones they love. Even if it kills them? Yes, even if it kills them. They call it sacrifice. They see it as the highest form of love. Ven was quiet for a moment. That seems foolish. If you die to save someone else, you cannot protect them anymore. You cannot be there for them. I know. That is what I thought too, at first. But then I watched your Yuna these past months. I saw how she cared for you 3. I saw how she gave everything she had to make you happy and healthy. She never asked for anything in return. She never complained about how hard it was. She just loved you. They paused. He was not used to talking about feelings. Warriors did not discuss such things. I think, he continued, that for humans, the act of sacrifice is not about logic. It is about heart. Yuna did not think about what would happen after she saved you. She just knew she had to save you. That is all that mattered to her in that moment. The engineers worked fast. The foam seal was holding. Air was flowing back into Section 7. The scanner showed the life sign getting slightly stronger. Una was breathing again, ready to open the door. The lead engineer called out, "Wait." Day held up his hand. He grabbed his communicator. "Dr. Soong, are you ready?" A calm voice answered. "Ready, Commander. I have studied human biology. I know what to do. Bring her to me quickly." Day nodded at the engineer. "Open it." The emergency door slid open with a loud hiss. Air rushed in and out as the pressure balanced. The cubs tried to run inside, but Day grabbed them. "No, stay here. Let the rescue team do their work." Two Krell medics ran into Section 7. They had a stretcher and medical equipment. They disappeared into the darkness of the broken section. The cubs waited. Every second felt like an hour. Tora was holding onto Ven's arm so tight that her claws were drawing blood. Ven did not seem to notice. Rax was pacing back and forth, his tail swishing with nervous energy. Then the medics came back. They were carrying the stretcher. On it was a small figure covered in blood. Yun. The cubs gasped. She looked terrible. Her skin was pale white. Her black hair was matted with blood. Her clothes were torn and red. Metal pieces were still sticking out of her chest and stomach. Her eyes were closed. She was not moving. Is she alive? Rax's voice was barely a whisper. One of the medics nodded. Barely. Her heart is still beating. But she has lost a lot of blood. She needs surgery immediately. They started moving toward the medical bay. The cubs followed. They walked beside them. Her chances are not good, the medic said quietly today. Humans are fragile. These injuries would be serious even for a Krell. For a human. I do not know if Dr. Soong can save her. They looked at the cubs. They had heard every word. Their faces were frozen with fear. Dr. Soong is the best surgeon in the fleet, they said loudly, making sure the cubs could hear. If anyone can save her, he can. They reached the medical bay. The doors slid open to reveal a bright white room full of machines and equipment. Dr. Soong was waiting. He was an older Krell with silver scales and calm eyes. He'd been a healer for over 50 years. He had saved thousands of lives, but he had never operated on a human before. Put her on the table, Soong ordered. His voice was steady and professional. Everyone else leave, except... He looked at the cubs. You three can watch from the observation room, but do not interfere, no matter what you see. The cubs nodded. They did not trust their voices to speak. As they were led to the observation room, Rax turned to look at Una one more time. Her small body looked so fragile on the big medical table. Machines were being connected to her. Lights were flashing. Soong was giving orders to his team. Please, Rax thought. Please save her. She's everything to us. She is our whole world. Without her, we have nothing. The door to the observation room closed. The three cubs pressed their faces against the glass. They watched as Dr. Soong picked up his surgical tools. The operation was about to begin. And all they could do was watch and pray. The emergency door was thick and heavy. It was made to survive explosions and keep air inside the ship. Nothing could break through it easily. Not even a full-grown Krell warrior. But Rax was trying anyway. He threw his body against the door again and again. His claws scratched at the metal. His shoulders hit the hard surface. He was hurting himself, but he did not care. He could not stop. Una was on the other side. Una was hurt. Una was bleeding. Let me through. Rax screamed. His voice was high and broken. It did not sound like the voice of a proud young predator. It sounded like the voice of a scared child. Yuna, answer me. Ven stood behind his brother. His whole body was shaking. He was the smart one. He was the calm one. He always thought before he acted. But right now, his mind was empty. He could not think. He could only see that image in his head. Yuna pushing them away. The metal falling. The blood, not so much blood. Ven had seen blood before. The Krell were hunters. They grew up learning about death. But this was different. This was Yuna's blood. This was the blood of the only creature in the universe who had ever been gentle with them. She's going to die, Ven whispered. His yellow eyes were wide and wet. Krell did not cry often. Their tear ducts were small. But right now, Ven felt something wet running down his scaled face. She is going to die, and we cannot save her. Do not say that. Rax spun around and grabbed his brother. He shook Ven hard. Do not ever say that. She is strong. She is human. Humans do not die easily. But even as he said it, Rax did not believe it. He had learned about humans in his studies. They were one of the weakest species in the galaxy. Their skin was soft. Their bones were thin. They had no natural weapons. A Krell cub could kill a human with one bite, and Yuna had just been crushed by falling metal. Tora was sitting on the floor. The youngest cub had not moved since the door closed. She was staring at the metal barrier with empty eyes. Her small body was curled into a ball. Her claws were digging into her own arms, drawing little drops of blue Krell blood. Tora. Ven knelt down next to his sister. Tora, please look at me. Tora did not respond. She just kept staring at the door. She pushed me, Tora finally said. Her voice was barely a whisper. She threw me away. I was going to be crushed. But she threw me away and took my place. Rax stopped hitting the door. He turned to look at his little sister. His chest was heaving. His claws were cracked and bleeding. Why? Tora looked up at her brothers. Her eyes were full of confusion and pain. Why did she do that? She could have run. She could have saved herself. Why did she save us instead? Rax did not have an answer. In Krell culture, survival was everything. The strong lived. The weak died. No one sacrificed themselves for others. It was not logical. It was not smart. It was foolish. But Yuna had done it without even thinking. Because she loves us, Ven said quietly. That is what humans do. They protect the ones they love, even if it kills them. The three cubs sat in the hallway in silence. The red alarm lights were still flashing. The sound of the siren was still screaming. But they did not hear it. They did not see it. They only thought about why other Krell warriors started arriving. They had heard about the hull breach. They came to help with repairs and rescue. When they saw the three cubs sitting on the floor, they stopped. What happened? One warrior asked. His name was Cole. He was a big male with dark gray scales. Why are you cubs here? Where is your human caretaker? Rax looked up at Cole with burning eyes. She is trapped. On the other side of the door. She is hurt. We need to get her out now. Cole looked at the emergency door. He checked his scanner. His face became serious. The section behind this door has lost pressure, Cole said. There is no air. If we open this door, the vacuum will pull everything out. We cannot open it until the repair team fixes the breach. Then fix it faster. Rax jumped to his feet. He was smaller than Cole, but he did not care. He pushed his face close to the warrior's chest. She is dying in there. Every second you waste is killing her. Cole looked down at the young cub. For a moment, he felt something strange. He had never seen a Krell care so much about another species, especially not about a human. Humans were weak. They were prey. They were not worth crying over. But these 3 cubs were falling apart. Their eyes were red. Their bodies were shaking. They looked like they had lost everything. "I will call the repair team," Cole said. "They will work as fast as they can." "That is not good enough," Rax screamed. "It is all we can do," Cole shouted back. Then his voice softened. "Listen to me, cub. I know you care about the human, but you need to stay calm. Panicking will not save her." Rax wanted to argue. He wanted to fight, but he knew Cole was right. He was a Krell. He was supposed to be strong. He was supposed to control his emotions. But right now, he felt like his chest was being ripped open. He walked back to his brother and sister. He sat down on the cold floor. Ven put a hand on his shoulder. Tora leaned against his side. The 3 of them huddled together like they used to do when they were babies, when their parents were still alive. "Tell me about the first time you met her," Tora said suddenly. Her voice was small and tired. Ven looked at his sister. "You were there too." "I know, but I want to hear you say it. I want to remember." Rax closed his eyes. He thought back to that day 6 months ago. "We were angry," he said. "We had just lost mother and father. We hated everyone. We wanted to hurt someone. Then this tiny human walked into our room. She was so small, so soft. We thought she was a joke. We tried to scare her," Ven continued. "We growled and showed our teeth. We made ourselves look as big and dangerous as possible. Any other creature would have run away screaming. But she did not run," Tora whispered. "She just sat down and smiled at us." Rax nodded. "She sat there for hours. She did not move. She did not speak. She just waited. Like she had all the time in the universe." "I thought she was stupid," Ven admitted. "I thought she did not understand the danger. But later I realized the truth. She understood perfectly. She just was not afraid." The cubs sat in silence for a moment. The memory was warm and painful at the same time. "She was the first person to touch me after Mother died," Tora said. "When she put her hand on my fur, I felt something I thought I would never feel again. I felt safe." Rax opened his eyes. They were wet with tears. "She taught us that being strong is not about claws and teeth. She taught us that being strong is about love, about protecting others, about never giving up. And now she is dying because she protected us," Ven said. His voice cracked. "No." Rax stood up. His legs were shaking, but his voice was firm. "She is not dying. She cannot die. I will not allow it." He walked back to the emergency door. He placed both hands on the cold metal. He could not hear anything from the other side. The door was too thick. But he imagined Yuna lying there in the dark and the cold, alone, bleeding, fighting to stay alive. "Yuna," Rax said. His voice was quiet but strong. "I do not know if you can hear me, but I need you to hold on. Please, do not leave us. We already lost our parents. We cannot lose you too." Ven and Tora walked up beside him. They placed their hands on the door too. "You promised to teach me more human games," Tora said. "You said we would play something called cards. I want to learn. So you have to live. You have to keep your promise. You told me that humans never give up," Ven added. "You said that is what makes your species special. So prove it. Do not give up now. Fight. Survive. Come back to us." The 3 cubs stood there with their hands on the door. They did not know if Yuna could hear them. They did not know if she was still alive. But they kept talking. They kept hoping. They kept believing, because that is what Yuna had taught them. Humans never give up. And neither would they. The repair team was coming. Help was on the way. All they needed was time. All they needed was for Una to hold on a little longer. Please, Rax thought. Please let her be okay. I will do anything. I will be better. I will be stronger. Just please let her be okay. In the darkness of Section 7, Una's heart was still beating. It was weak. It was slow. But it was still beating. She was not ready to die. Not when her cubs were waiting for her. The Velix warship moved through the dark space like a giant metal fish swimming in a black ocean. It was one of the biggest ships in the Krell fleet. The Krell were a race of predator aliens. They looked like a mix between wolves and lizards. They had sharp teeth, yellow eyes, and claws that could cut through steel. Every species in the galaxy feared them, but on this ship, there was something strange. Something that made other aliens shake their heads in confusion. There was a human on board. Her name was Una. Una was small. She was maybe 5 feet and 4 inches tall. She had black hair that she always tied in a simple ponytail. Her eyes were dark brown and warm. She smiled a lot. When she walked through the metal halls of the warship, she looked like a soft flower growing in a field of sharp rocks. She was a medic. But she was not here to heal the Krell warriors. She was here for the cubs. 3 young Krell cubs had lost their parents in a battle 6 months ago. The Krell High Council did not know what to do with them. Krell society was harsh. Orphans were often left to survive on their own. But these cubs were too young. They would die. Then Una came. She was part of a human aid program. Humans were new to the galaxy. They were weak compared to other species. They had no claws, no sharp teeth, no thick skin. But they had something else. They had kindness. They had patience. And they were very, very stubborn. Una volunteered to care for the cubs. The Krell warriors laughed at first. How could this tiny soft creature handle 3 predator children? The cubs would eat her alive, but Una proved them wrong. The 3 cubs were named Rax, Ven, and Tora. Rax was the oldest. He was bold and proud. He tried to act tough all the time. Ven was the middle one. He was quiet and smart. He watched everything with careful eyes. Tora was the youngest. She was small for a Krell cub, but she was fierce. She had a temper that could burn hotter than a star. When Una first met them, they growled at her. They showed their teeth. They tried to scare her away. But Una just smiled. She sat down on the floor and waited. She did not run. She did not scream. She just waited. After 3 hours, Tora got curious. She walked closer to sniff this strange creature. Una slowly reached out and touched the cub's fur. It was rough like sandpaper. Tora froze. No one had touched her gently since her mother died. From that day, everything changed. Now, 6 months later, the cubs followed Una everywhere. They slept in her room. They ate with her. They growled at anyone who looked at her wrong. The mighty Krell warriors were confused. These 3 little predators acted like Una was their mother. Commander Day watched this happen with great interest. Day was the leader of this warship. He was tall and strong, with scars on his face from many battles. He did not understand humans. They were so weak, so fragile. One hit could break their bones. One scratch could make them bleed. But Una was different. There was something strong inside her. Something that had nothing to do with muscles or claws. Day respected that. On this day, the ship was traveling through a dangerous area of space. There were many broken asteroids floating around. The navigation team was careful, but space was unpredictable. Una was in the recreation room with the cubs. She was teaching them a human game. It was called hide and seek. The cubs loved it. Their hunting instincts made them very good at hiding. But Una always found them. She said she could hear their excited breathing. Rax was hiding behind a large metal crate. Ven was under a table. Tora was trying to squeeze into a small cabinet. Yuna was counting with her eyes closed. 8, 9, 10, Yuna said. Ready or not, here I come. She opened her eyes and smiled. She could already hear Tora giggling in the cabinet. That little one could never stay quiet. Then everything went wrong. A loud alarm started screaming. Red lights flashed on the walls. The ship shook hard. Yuna fell to the ground. The cubs came running out of their hiding spots. Their eyes were wide with fear. What is happening? Rax shouted. Why Yuna did not know. She grabbed her communication device. This is Medic Yuna. What is going on? A panicked voice answered. Hull breach in Section 7. We hit a hidden asteroid. Everyone evacuate to safe zones. Section 7. Yuna's blood went cold. They were in Section 7. She looked around. The walls were starting to crack. She could hear the horrible sound of metal bending and breaking. Air was starting to leak out. Soon, there would be no air to breathe. We need to run, Yuna shouted. Follow me? She grabbed Tora and started running toward the emergency door. Rax and Ven ran beside her. The floor was shaking. Lights were exploding above them. It was chaos. They were almost at the door when Yuna saw it. A large piece of the ceiling was breaking loose. It was going to fall, and it was going to fall right on top of the cubs. Yuna did not think. Her body moved on its own. She threw Tora forward toward the door. Then she turned and pushed Rax and Ven with all her strength. The two cubs flew through the air and crashed through the emergency door. The metal ceiling fell. Yuna tried to jump away, but she was not fast enough. The jagged metal hit her body. Sharp pieces cut into her chest and stomach. She felt pain like fire burning inside her. Then she hit the ground. The emergency door slammed shut automatically. The cubs were safe on the other side. But Yuna was trapped in the broken section. She lay on the cold metal floor. Blood was coming out of her body. So much blood. It was warm and wet. It pooled around her like a dark red lake. Yuna tried to breathe, but it hurt. Every breath felt like knives in her chest. She looked down and saw metal pieces sticking out of her body. She knew this was bad. Very bad, but she smiled. A small, weak smile. The cubs were safe. Rax, Ven, and Tora were safe. That was all that mattered. Her vision started to get blurry. The red alarm lights looked like smeared paint. The sound of the alarm became distant, like it was coming from far away. She thought about her home on Earth. She thought about her mother and father. She thought about the small apartment where she grew up. She thought about the day she decided to travel to space and help others. She did not regret anything. Her eyes started to close. The darkness was coming. It was cold and quiet. Maybe this was the end. Maybe this was how her story finished. But somewhere, on the other side of that emergency door, 3 young predators were screaming her name. They were clawing at the metal. They were crying. They were begging for their human to answer them. And in the galaxy, when children cry for their mother, the universe sometimes listens. Yuna's heart was still beating. Weak and slow, but still beating. She was not dead yet. She was holding on, because somewhere in her fading mind, she could hear her cubs calling for her. She could not leave them alone. Not yet. Not ever. The darkness came, but Yuna did not let go. She held on to the sound of their voices. She held on to the love she felt for those 3 little predators who had become her family. She held on.